Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it. Welcome back, all you Bolt Action fans. It's Andy here from Trident Wargaming. It's another Bolt Action episode, and of course, I got two of my battle buddies on tonight. Jason is returning. How's it going, Jason?
Howdy.
And Chris is also returning to the show. How are you doing,
Hello
Chris?
there. I'm doing well.
Awesome. Good to have you guys on. I think this is the first time I've had both of you on at the same time, so it should be good. I got them worked up before the podcast, so
It's our first threesome.
ooh. Let me go get that French perfume on.
Oh my god.
So today's episode, we're going to be targeting things we'd like to see changed for version 3 of Bolt Action. There's been a couple of forum posts and whatnot of the topic, so I said, well, let's do it on the podcast. So I know everybody, has their ideas and whatnot for things they would like to see changed, or just little tweaks of this and that here and there. I'm sure the guys here have their ideas as well. So we'll see how on target we all are, if we have the same ideas and if we agree and disagree with each other. Also, if you guys have topics or questions that you want to send us after listening to the episode, make sure you do it in the comments, even email us, PM us, all that jazz, So, and don't forget to check out our new little website. There's a whole bunch of articles there. The TridentWargaming.com site covers pretty much our events and other articles that we've been writing up, plus shows a little bit about the crew that's on there, and more stuff to come. So, but as per usual, we will go to the hobby front. So this is the section where we talk about what we're working on or what we're not working on, or maybe we're doing something else. So let's start with Jason. What are you working on? What are you doing?
Well, I'm working on some VAS right now. A little bit of victory at seas. So I pulled out my American fleet and discovered that I have maybe I have too many
fleets.
Well, that, and I have currently, I think, 8 Portland class cruisers.
Okay.
There was only 2.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
I'm kind of going through. I have all of the Northampton class cruisers they had. They only had 6. So I have 12 or 10. I can't remember, but I have to get rid of a bunch. I don't want to have. I want to have as accurate a fleets as I can. So ditching the superfluous ones and trying to beef up some other areas.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's a good plan. Yeah, I haven't touched my VAS stuff in forever.
It's kind of been a little bit of a hit at the club lately. So been playing a little bit of that. I think there's an Italian fleet done up that I think I'm going to be playing against here soon. So
Devon's fleet.
Yeah, Devon's fleet. So
nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Cool. Yeah, they look good when they're all done up, eh?
Yeah, it's a smart. The fleets look really smart. I like them, and they're kind of fun to paint. They're more relaxing for me than like a full-on 28 mil miniature. it's a lot. There's a lot of fine detail, but at the same time, there's also a lot of dry brush. You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say.
Like,
So what Jason's about to say is he just prefers dry brushing his shit. And
yeah, exactly. I like to sit back and not worry.
not
Yeah,
contrast and dry brushing, baby.
yeah. It's I've been out of the old painting saddle for a while, so it's nice to ease back with a easy little project, and
Fair enough.
a night you have a ship done or two ships or a couple.
That's all it takes.
And then you get the ball rolling a little bit, and then you see, oh, I got a project done, even if it's a little project. Oh, now I want to do another thing. Now I want to do another thing. So I did not want to pick up 100 plus Soviet infantry to start on or something.
Yeah. No, for sure. No, that's good. Yeah, a little bit here and there always does the trick, right? So,
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And yourself, Chris? What are you working on?
You got 4 armies painted since Tuesday.
No, only 2.5, but close. No, I've been working on my Team Yankee stuff, as blasphemous as that is. Trying to wrap up the Soviets. So I finished off some BMP3s and so on, rounded out my initial list, and then I got 3 games under my belt now, so of course I realized T-80s are good in certain scenarios, but you really need to play the numbers game with the Soviets, so of course now there's boxes in the mail and more stuff to paint. But actually I was going to ask you, Jason, with your victory at sea, are you going to do an opposing force for your Americans?
Well, I have Japanese.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. I did go down maybe I'll get a couple starter sets, which I did. And then I actually even have an unopened starter set that I think I got to deal with, because
yeah,
guess what you get in there? More Portland class friggin' crews.
That was the same with me. I think I got 2 American sets, 2 Japanese sets as well for VAS, plus a whole bunch of reinforcement boxes that they came out with. And I think the Arizona I have as well, and stuff like that, right? So
oh, the Arizona, that was a pre-release,
the special one, yeah. So but yeah, there was, again, you kind of go through. I think I picked up one of the boxes to do a replacement on some, because I was leaving some at the store as a demo that I painted up. So but yeah, well, that's cool. Victory at Sea, Team Yankee. Was there anything else you were working on, Chris, or was that the main project?
Pretty much just that. And then I'm thinking once this is done, I'll jump back to the bolt action and try and finish up that French army I got.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice. Myself, well, considering I have my DAC army is pretty much done, so the next couple bracket for points for the slow grow, I'm essentially there. And I think once we get to 1250, I'll have to incorporate something else, maybe another squad of infantry or something, or an armored car. But pretty much went hardcore into Star Wars Shatterpoint. Started doing that. But for bolt action, I started actually doing the British Army. Decided to go with the 3rd Division after looking up some stuff in the books, and then also online. I guess they were part of the way back when in Napoleonic Wars. The division was part of the Portuguese Peninsula battles down there, which was pretty neat and kind of strikes home a little bit. So I decided to go with them, pull the trigger, and just starting to build models, some of the minis. And then I had the choice to either start building the older British minis or the newer British/Canadian minis.
Oh, dude.
I think you guys know which one I went with.
Yeah.
So
the old ones are born to be casualties. If you have them,
They'll be my BAF force for my early war, maybe.
like looking at the difference, because I have a bunch like even painted and it's not even close. The new ones are like 1,000 times better.
There's better detail, and then of course, like, you know, if you haven't checked out some of the other YouTube videos and stuff that we have, Trident Wargaming, I did some unboxing videos, and that's actually one of the kits I unboxed. The miniatures, the arms are together with the rifles and stuff, right? And so much easier to assemble, easier to clean, a lot more detail, and still a number of options, you know, in the kits compared
And
to,
I actually found them fairly easy to kind of convert to, with a little bit of clipping and a little bit of putty to fill in where you clipped, and easier than doing anything like that with the other ones, because the arms are a little bit beefier, the scale's a little bit larger.
Yeah.
They're still 28. I mean, it's 28-ish, honestly. Yeah. But these guys are just a little bit beefier, so you can, clip a little bit, in the elbow and move it and position and then fill in and putty.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep.
To change poses.
Just poses if you want. Converting. Yep.
Yeah. A lot. So much easier than fiddling around with even though the idea of a separate weapon sprue is cool on its face, like in the concept. And I did like having the weapon separate for putting on a base or whatever. It sucked. It sucked so bad. The comparison is not even.
I found the weapons were a lot thinner too. So
yeah, they all broke. I have half of my freaking original rifles intact.
But yeah,
one nice thing about those early kits though is they're great if you have a particular aversion to the Warlord metal weapons crews. I know some people hate metal with a passion, so not having those guns in hands, you can easily put the ammunition and shells for like a pack 40 or something like that. And then because they are more of a generic stance, instead of more of the dynamic of the second generation models, that way when you do pose them around, say a pack 40 or whatever it is you're doing, it blends a lot better. And I think from the American sprues, the like the Ranger box set is the first version infantry. They don't have the pouches like the canteens, the medic pouches, and so on their hips. So you could really customize them as a crew, not wearing their full kit as well.
That is true.
That's good to know. Yeah, no, that's a good little idea there. Never even thought about that. For all you plastic lovers, there you go. So, meat and potatoes of the episode. Here we go. We're gonna get Jason rolling here. We're gonna crank him up here a little bit. So, things you guys would like to see changed, or you think need a change, or what would you like, just to see in a new edition of Bolt Action, essentially. So, I'm going to leave my number one on here for later. It's not necessarily the number one target of change on my list, but I guess I'll start it off with one thing I'd like to see changed is getting rid of the templates.
Yeah. I hate it. Like, I really like the game. I think the game flows. I think every rule that they have generally leans towards improving the flow, and even if it cuts into realism, or sometimes things can be a little bit gamey here or there. They always seem to err on the side of improving the flow of the game to keep it moving.
Correct.
right? Everything is fairly intuitive. And this one rule, they decided, fuck it. We're going to make you pull out the stupid friggin' template that you have to haul around everywhere for to make people put their models in a gamey fashion. You can't have you can't, if you want to win and you have artillery or mortar pieces, you can't put them appropriately. You have to space them out as far as you're legally allowed to do, so that a 1-inch template doesn't take your freaking team out.
Yeah, that's a very old.
I hate it. It doesn't pull you into the game.
No.
It's not even I get it. Like bringing yourself down to get the model's point of view for those kind of
Right.
what do you call it, line of sight. I get it. That pulls you in, but a template doesn't. It doesn't pull me into the game. It doesn't pull me into the scene. It makes me hold a little piece of plastic over top of some models that somebody has, as cheesily as possible, placed so that I can't kill them all or they can't kill. And I hate it. It's stupid.
I feel personally attacked there because I measured 2 inches from the breech of my French artillery guns, and I spread those 4 men out, man. So that's hurtful.
But you
yes.
got to, if you're like, if you're being competitive, especially if that's like
Tournament level.
A tournament level, or if that's like, okay, this is my one thing that can target tanks or whatever. Like if it dies, I'm screwed. So I get it. Like, but yeah, I just maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it adds anything.
So
if anything, takes away.
Version 1, they didn't have templates, right?
No.
So it's kind of like you'd kind of go back to that, I guess. I didn't actually play version 1.
And it's just as simple. It has they have the rules for buildings.
Yeah. So
it's just as simple as that.
From what I'm looking at, like the HE shots, which is mainly the templates, right? So you had I'm looking at Conflict 47 because that's what I have right now, but
that's V1, yeah.
Yeah. So they had HE D2, D3, D6, 2D6, 3D6. So
yeah.
It's looking like light mortar, or light. Yeah, light mortar, probably light artillery, medium, heavy, super heavy, something like that.
I can't remember exactly, but it wouldn't be difficult.
Yeah, but and even in the same thing with the version 2 with the building hits, right? That kind of thing. I would like to get rid of the templates. You can still have your D6, however many hits, all that kind of stuff. Reacting by going down to have it, I think, is still a nice little option in there for the defender, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
But it's just simply you're just figuring out that number, done, right? Obviously Jason agrees.
Now let me tell you how I really feel.
Yeah. So
I do believe my first 3 words on this topic were hate, hate, hate. So
essentially, yeah.
Oops.
And Chris, you had I thought you had an experience at LVO tournament with things like that, with like templates and
yeah.
So
I like when we have our casual games within our group here, templates work just fine. Because I noticed Jason and yourself will do the same thing when it's a casual game. Here's a template. You tell me how many guys I just hit. I will never verify. I will never look. I'll never question you. If you tell me it's 3, if you tell me it's 4, sure, I'm going to take your word at it. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. And it moves super smooth, real quick. It moves on. But when you start getting into a more competitive mindset, it's nothing but a point of contention. There's no discrepancy on a dice and how it's rolled and what shows. But getting that little edge of, is that balance of using the body of the model or line of sight, but then for actually measuring distances and templates, you use the base. Well, what if you modeled your artillery pieces with the crew not optimally spaced? Well, then you're getting in the games where you, like I mentioned earlier, you got your medium artillery and your 4 crew. Now they're spaced out like a bunch of idiots, not behind that gun shield at all. But yeah, of course you're going to take those rules and you're going to kind of cheese it.
Yeah.
It kind of
Well, it's you know that phrase modeling for advantage.
darn right I do.
It's kind of the other way around, right? Because like you're modeling your artillery crews where like they're actually working the artillery. The guy's actually putting the shell in the back. You know, you have the spotter guy or the commander, and he's, you know, giving the signal to adjust so many whatever millimeters up, that kind of thing. So you're modeling the miniature itself for it to look kind of representative of what they would actually be doing. But then you got the other player who's like taking full advantage. You know what I mean? Of placing the template. Yeah, I got your whole crew. Well, okay.
Dang it.
But, you know, like shit, right? Like, what do I do, right? I mean, you're following the rules, but the guy's taking total advantage of it. Or the other way around, like Chris said. You purposely are measuring that distance from the actual gun, and now you have, 6-inch by 6-inch base, because your guys are still in coherency, but they're spread out, right?
Yeah.
Might as well have them running through a minefield as well, you know, like.
And you're naturally going to get those artillery duels. So if you have one person that modeled them with one intent and the other person that modeled them with the other intent, like I had that at LVO where I won the duel per se, where I got the first hit. I ranged in and nope, you can't hit all of them, so you will never wipe that unit on unless you got a lucky morale roll kind of thing. And then, coincidentally, the next turn he hits you, hits every single dude, and wipes you right out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this was just a modeling thing, but yet, when you're doing a more competitive game with a generic reinforced platoon, you only have one artillery piece. And when it's gone, my goodness, it changes things. So,
yeah.
I kind of like, oh, crap.
I like your point, too, you made. We kind of glossed over to this, but I like... the dice is just objectively true, no matter who's looking at it, right? A 6 is a 6. But, you know, depending on... I'm a chubbier guy. Sometimes leaning over a table to see a mortar strike in the middle, I'm not exactly looking over the center of this template. I'm trying my best, baby, but my line of sight on that top of that template's going to be different than yours.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jason. I don't have that problem.
So
give me the step stool, you know.
just give me a friggin' dice, man.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Nobody can argue with it.
Sure. So that's that one.
You're never going to guess. That was actually top of my list, too.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big time.
We'll go to you guys, see which one you have. We'll kind of alternate and see what we got. So, yeah. Chris, you got one?
Yeah. Side note, though, no more templates was the bottom of my list.
Ooh.
Really? Ooh.
So the top of my list, I'm sure, is the top of Andy's. So I'll go to number 2 on my list, and it's toned down assaults. Now, I've played both of you. I've played both of you enough that you know I love a good roll off.
Yeah.
But I think if they did kind of a blended system with the idea that chain of command takes, where yes, you roll off, keep everything the same as bolt action rules are, roll off, but instead of you lose by 1 or you lose by 6, your entire squad is wiped out. No. I suggest, just like chain of command, if you lose by 1, there's a table that you roll on, and it's got varying results. Basically, if you lose by 3 or more, you're bayoneted to death. You're pretty much done.
Okay.
But if you only lose by 1 or 2, you roll on that appropriate chart, and it has varying effects to it. So whether that's realistic or not, I don't know. It's always a gamble. I've seen a one-man mortar team come in and just miraculously club paratroopers to death somehow.
Yep.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, I agree. You know what? I want to agree with my whole heart, but I do love the flow. And this is just going back to 40K and other games where it just bogs down so much. But I like the blended system that you're suggesting. Something simple, as long as it stays nice and simple, and there's a clear-cut finish. Because the last thing I hate it when, like, oh, okay, turn 2, I happen to get a guy into combat, or turn 3 maybe, and until the end of turn 6, we're just slugging it out. It's it's like watching soccer. I don't want to end the game in a 0-0 tie. I want a combat to be brutal and
Decisive.
finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, just decisive. So maybe there is merit. So maybe there is merit to the blended system, but I see no value in the people that are arguing for a more 40K like system.
Yeah, so kind of knowing a little bit more on 40K right now, as the big hype of it's coming out again, and watching a whole bunch of the experts here and locally play. The comments are actually pretty brutal in 40K right now because there's a lot of numbers that they're rolling, like a lot of dice they're rolling. So
yeah, so that's the other
squads are getting wiped out, right?
Yeah, but do you want to have the other downside of 40K combat is, do you have 14 like Chessex cubes worth of dice
Yes.
in order to roll your combat? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And I think it goes to the first point I made, like where on the last one where all the rules are skewed towards flow over anything else.
Right.
But I do see, I'll argue against myself here. I do see that combats can be brutal, and when you are the guy on the receiving end of that mortar team assaulting, your cavalry or something, and they get murdered, it is stupid and brutal. It may be beyond any kind of realism.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
but maybe though, instead of changing combat, maybe for small teams, they have to take you have to take a tank fear test unless you have any tank grenades. So maybe you have to take a test before you're even allowed to assault.
Yeah, there are options for things like that, because I know first edition's assaults were different. There was a little bit more detail to them. So as an example, and this might be a neat little change, is bringing this back, but you as the assaulter, you're assaulting, you're in range, okay. The guy hasn't gone yet with an order, but he can do a reactive order of trying to escape, right? So just another order that you can put in there as a react. They escape and then they go down. So, if you have a team that you don't want to get killed, you might be able to do it, but you have to do an order check. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you do an order check. If they pass, they react, they get away. If you fail, you're getting charged. Plain and simple. This way it gives a little bit of a balance to the attacker and the defender. It's not just an automatic thing that's going to happen. So that's one thing that, I would like to see in that, as for the prolonged combat and stuff like that, I've seen it enough in games where, I do agree it does take a lot of time. But I also do agree at the fact that, whiffing on all my rolls and my opponent who gets one wound on me wipes out my squad, it's kind of shit. To be honest. I've lost a full strength squad of regular German infantry to that exact situation. Biffed my rolls. He killed one guy. He won combat. I'm wiped out. Okay. Not fun. But if there's a chart that something happens, maybe there's stuff that can be implemented. If you outnumber the guy, maybe you get a bonus, right? Stuff like that. Or if you do outnumber, maybe you do more damage to the unit, right? Because I don't think the combats, even if they added different stuff to the combats, I don't think they would take too long. Because what's the max size of it? Well, okay, now hold on. Max size of a unit. Then I started thinking about the Japanese army. 15 miniatures in an army, in a unit.
Polish can have 19.
Well, there you go. Like that's going to do a lot of damage, but it makes sense. There's 19 dudes coming at you, tier 8, maybe. Mm-hmm. If you biff on your rolls and my 8 defeat you, well, there goes those 19 guys. So I'm kind of impartial to both. I do like the speed of things, because I know with bolt action there are things that get bogged down. So keeping the speed, but also maybe adding a little something else, like Chris is mentioning, right? Just a little something to make the combat a little bit spicier and not so just straight to the point. You're dead. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I even like what you said. Like, if you outnumber them, sure, that counts as. So when you're figuring out combat results, that you outnumber them, that counts as a +1 for you or something.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So through the power of technology, I brought up the PDF for the Chain of Command Assault. And there is a thing here, add a die if your command initiative level of your leaders is present. Add 2 if your troop quality is higher than the enemy.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that, yeah.
But that would slow it down, because Chain of Command is a much different pace of game. But the point I was actually referencing is a little farther down, and it says, of course you could translate these to bolt action rules, but like a draw. Fight again immediately, unless one side breaks due to shock. So you could just say if you draw, you fight again until you get a result. And if you're defeated by 1, you're thrown back 6 inches facing the enemy. So there you go, that would break. It would do a clean break at the end of that assault, no matter what, because you're either fighting again in a draw or you're breaking away, so that you don't have the turn after turn after turn, where I think it was like 6th or 7th edition 40K, you had those tar pit units.
Yeah.
That's all they would do. They're pointless. You can't kill enough in 6 turns, and they just slow everybody down.
That's a dreadnought fighting a 20-man unit of grots.
Exactly.
I only do 3 attacks. I only hit with 1. I kill 1 grot.
And then just to further put the point out there, like if you're defeated by 2, you're thrown back 9 inches. And then defeated by 3, you're thrown back 12. And 2 points of shock on the team. Defeated by 4, well, you break and flee 18 inches, you run away. And you could easily put that as like, you're defeated by 1, you move back 6. Defeated by 2, move back 9, take a pin. Defeated by 3, move back 12, take 2 pins. Now you're defeated by 4 or more, then you're just wiped out. And that'd be quick, easy, and it wraps that up. It's not a turn-to-turn quagmire of blah.
Yeah.
Yep. Adds a little bit of a little extra, but makes it a little bit more entertaining instead of just a clean wipe. But Cool. Well, we got that one done. Never know. You might try some of these ideas out in your own house rules. That'd be pretty cool.
That's the other thing. Maybe we should put that out there too, because I feel if you're playing at your house, you're not beholden to the book.
Yeah.
So far as I know, Warlord Games does not send out a Judge Dredd type character to your house if you decide to go against the rules. So if there is a rule that you think is stupid, just change it, baby. It's all good. It's all good in the neighborhood, baby.
Very good. Jason, you're next up. Which one do you got?
Okay, here's one. Officers are dumb. So let's make them less dumb.
Okay, interesting.
And I was thinking that if you could allow an officer to rally on behalf of a unit in its command radius. So you have an officer with a command radius of 6. He's next to a unit with 3 pins on it. Why can't that officer within 6 inches of that unit rally for them? So he's like, hey, get your ass out of the dirt.
Kind of like a UMen snap to action ability?
Yeah, but
like an auto rally?
Yeah, well, not auto. You still have to roll the dice to see if you like how many pins you can remove.
Okay.
And you can even make it. You can still have to roll an order test because maybe those men don't hear it or are like shut up. We don't care what you're saying.
Right.
But just have the officer have a reason to be nearby his troops besides that snap to action, because that snap to action is awesome for some armies and very not that useful for other armies. So a lot of people take the cheapest officer they can by himself and hide him behind something and put him down for the entire game.
I don't know who does that. I really don't know who does that. You know, I never do that, Jason.
yeah.
No, that's a good point.
Or give them something, because right now there's some armies that use them, and most players don't. Even the guys that occasionally use snap to action, the officer is just there hanging around, hiding, and then occasionally running out to grab an objective or to smoke some poor innocent mortar team or something.
Some smaller unit with the SMGs, because they always have SMGs, right? So,
which also they never, like when I'm playing a game, I feel like, it's a very cinematic game. I love that about this game, and I feel like I see the infantry moving across the table, and they're trying to hug cover wherever they can, or if they have to be in cover, their players always like worried, and I love all that. It makes it realistic. You see the guys, advancing up, or you see the weapons teams hunkered down, taking their shots, and you see the officer not doing anything.
Right.
And I feel that perhaps the officer, at least some officers, moved with their troops and did stuff. Because even keeping them close by, 6 inches isn't that big of a radius. Keeping them close by for +1, if you're doing the cheaper officer, +1 to your morale, it's good, but it's not killer, and especially if you're playing a game with kill points.
True.
So it gives you, I think, just something else to give them incentive, and I think the rallying would also help keep the more units engaged in the game. Keeps them bloodier. Say, I don't want a 0-0 score at the end.
True. There's it's interesting you pointed that out for like maybe shaking it up for officers and stuff. I got 2 points here. One, that is kind of coexisting with your officer like rally kind of ability. Is the rally order too strong? So we'll touch on that in right after this. But again, going to first edition bolt action, they actually had reactions, which could easily be turned into abilities that your officer would be able to, special rules or commands, I should say, your officer would be able to give to nearby units. Right? So as an example, we already have like the stand and shoot. So when you're being assaulted, you can shoot as long as they're not within the 6-inch range, right?
Yeah.
So that was a reaction that they had before too. There's also the escape reaction, which is very similar to what I mentioned about the assault. Go down, of course, that's normal for all units. But they have one called firefight. And essentially it's if your unit is shot by another unit, an enemy unit, that's within a 20-inch range, you can actually react by shooting back. Right? So not every unit would be able to do this, but your officer would be able to use that ability, right? Now, I think I know why they took this stuff out, because it slows the game down. Like big time, right? But not every one of your units is doing this. It's just the ones that your officer is commanding, kind of thing, right? So you have one like that, and then you have another one that's called Run the Cover. It essentially allows you, again, if you're being shot by an enemy that's greater than 20 inches this time, you can order that unit to run to some cover, move to some cover. So, just ideas throwing out there. That'd be make your officers a little bit more, I guess, workable in the game. Actually have maybe a different function, instead of just sitting there with their bubble issuing you men snap to action and giving you the +1 or +2 to your morale. Yeah. So it's one of those things that it'd be cool to try out. Maybe try it out in a scenario, But no, that's a good point. What do you think, Chris?
I really like Jason's idea, because I think the whole premise of Warlord ever going to a version 3 is bolt action's their bread and butter, right? So they don't want to change core mechanics too much. So I think as long as you can keep the mechanics that are in the game and shuffle them around, you already have the mechanic of the rally order.
Yeah.
If you were to move that over and use it as, like Jason was saying, a snap 2 where it burns his own order die to do a rally order on behalf of someone, and keep all the radiuses the same, 6 for first and second lieutenants and 12s for captains and majors. That way you're not changing things too much where everybody's going to get upset and go find something else. Just a little
Fair
bit
enough.
That everybody already knows what the rules are for rally, how to do them. Everybody already knows lieutenants, and kind of keep it like that. I think that's a great idea.
Nice. So second part of that, like I had mentioned, do you guys think that the rally order is too strong?
No.
It's too much?
No, it's never used.
No. And honestly,
I always use it.
Oh, I use it all the time. But I
Oh, you guys made a liar out of me now.
I mean, really,
it's usually when prep bombardment hits your whole army on the first turn.
No, it's like blackjack, baby. I mean, if you hit 17, you stand. No matter what, you stand on 17. You hit 3 pins, you rally. 3 pins, rally. 3 pins, rally. And anytime I go against that, it accept. It goes against me every time.
Fair enough.
Anytime I'm like, oh, maybe I can, 3 pins on this isn't that bad. I guess I really want bloop fail. So, yeah, but and I think I love the pin mechanic, but also I think if you don't have a tool like rallying where you have the potential to get rid of even a lot, like you can get rid of 7 pins.
Yeah.
So you can get rid of multiple turns worth of pins in one go to keep that unit engaged and moving in the game. I think anything that keeps the game moving is good.
Okay.
And it still costs them a turn. It's still a turn penalty, essentially. Like that unit doesn't get to do anything. So essentially they're cashing in their chips for a chance at relieving all of their pins and losing a turn. And when you're only talking a 6-turn, possibly 7-turn game for most games, that's actually a significant, your effectiveness just got reduced that much,
Yeah. The way I kind of looked at it though is you're pumping in so much firepower into that one unit. And it that unit should be dead. It should be dead. And then they do a rally order with that D6 +1 with an unmodified leadership, right? And boom, they're back.
Yeah, but that doesn't how many here's this is going to sting, Andy. Okay, just get ready. This is going to be a stinger. How many times have you failed that unmodified leadership check?
Oh, lots of times.
Yeah.
But that's because my dice suck, Jason.
But I'm saying, you could still fail it.
Oh, for sure.
And it makes it sting that much. Or even when I pass, I have the potential of taking off 7. But what do I usually do? I take off 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Every time. Every time.
So almost inevitably, you have 1 pin left, no matter what.
Okay.
So I don't think it's overpowered. I think it's kind of one of the rules that's just right. Because I do love that pins can slow things down in a sense. You can use them to slow an army down that's trying to come across the board. You can use it to to blunt an advance. But also, I think if you didn't have that rally as a tool
mechanic, yeah,
everybody would be even less likely to advance beyond cover, or you'd end up with 2 dwarven gun lines in every single game.
What do you mean?
What I mean?
I thought that was the game. No.
Yeah. So
and
there's
good points.
Yeah,
good points.
Anyway,
points.
You're wrong, Andy.
You
That's
suck,
what I'm
Jason.
trying to say. I'm trying to say everything you say is wrong.
Oh, everything I say is wrong. Wow. Wow.
What do you think, Chris? Is Andy wrong?
I don't have the authority to make a choice like that.
Oh, the authority. See, like that. I like that.
An interesting note, though, on your rally. So at the beginning of this segment, I said, well, it's never used. So, admittedly, I usually play veteran-heavy armies.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I rarely used rally.
One of those guys.
I'm one of those guys. So as soon as even if I got 2 pins, I'm going to roll the usual amount. I'm going to take my average of 8 or under, right? And more than often, I'll get it, I lose the pin, and I keep moving. Where I find the only army I consistently use rally is my Soviets. And them I play usually inexperienced heavy.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at it kind of from a realism standpoint, you have the worst, the least motivated individuals fighting under your command, and they're pinned down by multiple units shooting at them, and suddenly they pass an unmodified test and they're like, yeah, I'm cool with this. I'm gonna keep going on. Like, I don't know, kind of a bit backwards, but at the same time, it's a game, and
That is true. Yeah.
you gotta keep it moving somehow.
Yeah, and I think honestly, if you're going to look at it that way, you look at as it look at that rule being applied as an aggregate over the 6 turns, and that unit that got those pins had to stop for a turn. So if you're watching it in a movie, that would be a unit that slowed down because they were scared. Not necessarily stopped, but slowed down. You know what I mean? So I think it still
Gotcha.
works.
Fair enough. No, good points all around. No, that's a good one. So keep it the way it is. I got a quick one here. And this came up the other day with a couple of the gents playing some Tank Wars. And it does apply just to regular bolt action. Measurement from tanks. So not your line of sight, but the actual measurement of your shot from tanks. I've been looking at FAQs and been looking at forums at what people have been saying and what's officially been said.
It's a breach, isn't it? Am I wrong?
You're wrong.
I'm wrong. Okay.
See, you're wrong this time. So artillery is from the center of the gun. They say breach, right? Whereas from tanks, it's from the hull. So all your shots are coming from the hull. I would like to see that changed from the gun.
Change it to the gun. So if you have like one of those Soviet tanks with, it's like a 7-inch model and it has a 14-inch barrel on it.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like
breach. Okay, from the breach, that's fine. Like for me, but keep it the same.
Yeah,
right?
Honestly, I don't think it makes a difference as long as they say. I like the breach simply because A, that's what I assumed it was, and B, I know it says somewhere. So you're saying that's where it says it in artillery.
Yeah.
So then just keep it the same, baby.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's a simple one. Just keep it the same. The main gun, of course, from the breach. Your machine guns. I mean, just measure from your machine guns. They're pretty clear on the tanks, right? I understand why they do the hull, right? It is pretty simple, but I don't know. I guess I'm just used to measuring from the actual guns from just a whole bunch of other games, but at least keep it consistent the same with artillery.
Keep it the same within the system. I didn't even think that it was different.
Neither did I until it came up the other day.
So in other words, I am a cheater.
We're all cheaters.
Yeah. But to be fair, really, this cheating just robs me of a couple of inches of shooting.
Yeah. So, and with that, the other part of that, I guess, is, and this has come up a couple times now, and I reread it today. Rear-facing weapons, mainly machine guns, on like turrets. Mm-hmm. They say that whatever weapons are on the same mounting has to fire at the same targets, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's what I understand it was. And there was an argument of, because you're firing your main cannon at something, your rear machine gun couldn't fire because it couldn't fire at that target. But when you read...
That's not right.
I know. But when you read in the book, it says use your turret and or coaxial, whichever one you decide, resolve their shots first. And then it goes into saying, you have the rear machine gun can only fire in the opposite arc of the front guns. But it doesn't go on to say that you can fire onto a different target, right? It's not really clear on that. So it's probably just a wording thing. So it's not so much you're changing something, but more of changing the wording on it. And maybe they've fixed that, but I didn't see it in the FAQs myself. And it could just be actually in the regular book about firing the different weapons maybe on different mounts, but it's on the same mount in my opinion. But it's come up a few times, and we've made that, the gentleman's judgment call on, yeah, you can fire. Like, it doesn't make sense that you couldn't, but that's just a quick one, right? Like,
And I'd actually like to amend my number one thing on this list.
Oh,
because I have it, but it should be first. Let's just say if you're going to write a new rule book, let's put a proper index. Let's just do that. Let's just start with, even if we don't see a single rule change, can I get a friggin' just a properly indexed book?
I found an index. It works pretty good.
Yeah, but it just should be part of the OG content.
Fair enough. No, that's a good one.
While we're on the subject of turrets here, I'm going to bring up one I'm not sure you guys saw coming. Turrets. Every darn time you get a panther with a giant old barrel hanging off of that turret, something comes in from behind and you have it on ambush, magically that turret can turn 180 degrees, whip that giant barrel around, takes a shot, and blows it up from the other side of the table.
Oh, yeah. I think 100% ambush should be at whatever direction your gun is pointed at.
There has to be something, and I'm going to say it again. In chain of command, you can only turn that turret 120 degrees. That's it. So you can only turn it the third of a circle. Because turrets just don't turn that fast, man.
No.
Yeah.
That is one I did not see coming.
I think even just easier than that, Chris, is just
90
if you
degrees?
even if you just put a unit in a tank in ambush, it's at whatever you have it pointed at. You got your arc. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And it would bring in another dynamic too of if you want to turn that turret around and you can only move it 90 or 120 degrees, you can rotate your hull, but there's always a negative downside to that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I kind of like that, actually. But I still think for ambush, it has to be, even with the turret rule, even if you put in a turret rule, like your ambush, you're sitting there waiting, looking at, it's supposed to be like a split second. Aha, I've got you, and I shot.
Yeah, I know what, Jason, you're saying there too about, so when you do that ambush order, you would dedicate, okay, this is where my turret is facing, and it has, and the guns have that 90, the 90-inch degree arc, or 45, whatever you want to call it. That's the arc. That's your ambush arc.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's stupid because I've seen it, and it is as bad as the single mortarman assaulting veterans.
Fair enough. No,
but yeah, I kind of like the mechanic of putting whatever the degree is of your turret movement.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, and it would make moving your tanks a little bit more finicky than it is. But then again, okay, I just argued myself out of it. I think in the interest of flow, you don't fiddle with the moving the turret, but I do still agree with the ambush. You set the ambush to whatever you're looking at. You can still turn it to turret as far as you want, because as much as I like the idea of, okay, well, now I have to turn my tank in order to get the exact angle I want, it would add a little bit of a finickiness that maybe isn't as appropriate in bolt action. But I don't know.
Yes, but there's another part of that. So what you brought up there is, yeah, it's finicky, but if you compare the price point between, in the German book, the the Stug, the one with the heavy AT gun, encasement mounted,
Yeah.
I want to say it's, going off memory here, 230 points. Yet a Panzer IV, statistically, is also a medium tank with a rotatable turret, and it's what, 240? 245? So on the high side, it's 15 points difference to be able to have your front armor facing where you want it to and shoot in any direction. I would pay that 15 points again and again every time because it's such a small percentage of your overall cost.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'm back. You brought me back because one thing I think they can add to bolt action is a little layer, an extra layer to tanks, and maybe that's a way to achieve it. Because right now the tanks are a little generic.
There's a lot of them are very similar, right?
Yeah. And there's no way that a T-70 should be, popping up and taking down Stugs. Not to point at Andy's poor Stug. But, there's just not, the difference isn't very big. And I was thinking that maybe it's just adding a couple of, rules like they have like slow, just add a page of tank rules that you can throw on various tanks to give them a little bit of a difference. I like that overall they're fairly similar because it's easy. I don't have to memorize the enemy army book to know
a medium tank is a medium tank. Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe a medium tank has the slow rule because it's notoriously slow, and maybe there's another rule because the ammunition that tank uses is garbage, or I don't know. But
and they do have some of that stuff in there.
A little bit. There's the slow. There's the okay, now I'm.
Well, it's like the French turrets, right? Like the one-man turret. Like they have that.
Yeah,
right?
That's one. Yeah.
You have slow.
Riveted construction.
You have riveted. You have heavy, I think it is.
Heavy, yeah.
And then you have like I said, there are some stuff like the Germans have the skirts, right? So they get bonus to that armor. I think the one big one, and this is going to get somebody riled up here, I think the one big one is Tiger Fear.
Yeah. Tank fear. Just tank fear.
Exactly.
Nobody's afraid. Every infantryman is afraid of every tank. It's not like the infantrymen hear a tank and they're like, oh my God, it might be a Tiger. Oh, phew. It's a Panzer III. Thank fucking God.
Panzer III with 3 machine guns. Thanks, bud.
Oh my God, yes.
Rip.
Oh, I was so worried that it was a Tiger. That's it. I'm good. We're good, guys.
Yeah.
It's tank fear. Every infantryman does not want to run into a tank. Maybe have Tiger fear apply to other tanks. Because a Tiger does make a difference to a Sherman.
Well, the crews definitely were affected by seeing just one Tiger.
Just a big ass tank.
Yeah.
But every tank is big. That's why the Tetrarch tank is a great tank if it's just a couple of infantry you're running up against.
True.
I think all of these tank issues in bolt action are a symptom of a bigger problem. So it's well known that Warlord has that formula for how they come up with the points cost, right? So the points cost difference between an armor value 8 to a 9 is something like an extra 40 points, generically, right? So you can quantify each of these values on how much they improve your odds or chances of doing something or surviving a hit, yada, yada, yada. And there's a quantifiable amount of points that they assign to each of these values. So if you were to take my turret example, so it's 15 points to be able to do a lot more. So if you put that over the cost of 230, that's like what, 5-6% of the cost of that tank? But you increased its survivability by being able to do that. Not, it's exponentially more. You're not increasing its survivability by 5%. I haven't done the math on it, but you're increasing it by a lot more than that. So how do you quantify that in a points value? Whether you do one-man turret. What is the one-man turret rule worth in their current scheme? What is slow worth in their current scheme? So I almost think they need to look at their formula and adjust the numbers just a little bit, and that'll solve almost all the vehicle issues that we've brought up without changing anything core in the game.
Nice. Yeah.
That's what I would say.
That's good. Good idea.
Bring him up, Andy. Call Warlord.
Yeah.
I agree, though. I 100%.
Sure. So, I know we have a lot more. Those were just some of the ones that we came up with.
Did we say index?
Yes, we said index. One, I think we're probably gonna have to do another episode on this because I know it is getting a little late here. But I think the one I'm gonna finish off with here is, and you guys may agree, disagree, and I think this might make the flow of the game a little faster, is the rolling to hit. The mechanic of sevens. You know.
Yeah, a 6 and a 4.
Yeah. Okay, and that wraps it up.
I'm skipping straight to the meat and potatoes of it.
So,
a 6 and a 6 is tough.
Yeah. No, for sure. I just find that it does bog it down a bit. Right? And, you know, you rolling sixes with a small amount of dice, you know, if you do get that 6, like make that your worst number, right? Like you can either do the 6 and 4, like Jason said, or you can just make it 6 is the worst and that's it. Right? Essentially.
I don't know. I will say I do like the concept of 7. I like a very difficult but not impossible. There's always a chance. Concept. I just think that 6 and 6. It doesn't fall in line with any other game I've played. It's always been a 6 and a 4 for any of those kind of above 6 multipliers. For a 7, right? And in some games even have it a 6 and a 4 is a 7, a 6 and a 5 is an 8. You know, a 6 and a 6 is not, you know, so some games bring it up that way.
Yeah.
But I think you know, I agree. I don't know. I don't like the concept of impossible shots. You know,
you still like having a chance?
Still like having a chance.
That's fair. Yeah.
But maybe it can be maybe it can be a little easier. And I'm not anti 7s. I'm not anti 6 and a 6. I just think maybe let's just bring a little bit more, sprinkle a little sousson of blood on the table and you know, make it a little easier for the murder.
Yeah, I was just looking at it as like cut down on time kind of part of the game, right? It is one of those games that can take a lot of time to play. So some of us can hammer out games pretty quick, and others, you know, definitely takes a little bit longer.
Yeah. I know. So. I just have to cut the jibber jabber out of the That's my problem. It's not sevens.
Those are weekend games at your place, Jason. That's what we do.
It's just my jibber jabbering.
Spend the whole day there hanging out, playing. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Chris, yourself? What do you think of that?
I agree 100%. Don't quote me on the rules here, but Team Yankee, same thing. If you need a 7 to hit, it's a roll with a subsequent 5 or higher.
Okay.
And I think an 8 is a 6 on a 6. And if you need a 9 or higher to hit, it's just not happening.
Okay. Yep, fair enough.
So other systems do it. I remember the old tables from 40K with weapon skill, ballistic skill, and all this stuff. And
yep.
One finger here and there, and you come down, and it's that's a 6/4+. Yeah, I agree. 6 on a 6 is too harsh.
Yeah. So
until it happens, and then I'm grumpy.
Or you roll 4 6s in a row.
It happens.
Oh, it does. But yeah, those are some of the changes that obviously we've mentioned and have thought about that would be interesting to see. And you never know, we might actually implement some in our games with each other.
Spell checker.
Okay.
They need a spell checker.
Okay.
Now that's one I did not see coming.
No, I didn't either. That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, no, those are some good topics. Like I said, we'll probably have to do like part 2 of this because I'm sure we have a lot more. So yeah, good ideas. Let us know what you guys think. Maybe you guys agree with us. Maybe you disagree. Let us know. Maybe you have the ideas of your own of different changes, or you've played other games that might have similar things. And I'd love to hear about and read up on them and check things out. Right? Both guys have played other games as well, and Chain of Command, and then you have Team Yankee, stuff like that. All kind of military games, but they all have little different systems that could probably work quite well with each other for changes and stuff. But yeah, glad you guys tuned in and checked out the episode. Hope you guys liked it. Thanks again, Chris and Jason, for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
No worries.
Yeah. And I'm sure they'll be on here more often as well, as there's always topics to talk about for Bolt Action and other games. And yeah, check out our socials, check out our webpage, all that kind of stuff. Like I've said earlier, send us pictures of your Bolt Action stuff. Maybe you have an event coming up we'd like to hear about. Reach out to us, send us pictures, use the hashtag for your minis, and we'll go from there. So thanks for tuning in again, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the tabletop and keep rolling those dice. See you guys next time.
Laters.